What is up? Welcome to Dharma Time here on WPSN99.com. I'm your host, the Dharma Guy, as always with the Noob Doctor. What's up, man?
What's up, brother? How are you?
I'm well.
It's good to be well.
Yes.
It's good to be well.
I am well, and I have an announcement, actually, that I'm going to make. It's a relatively melancholy one, but I think it needs to be said.
Melancholy?
Yes. So we have a mutual friend,
okay,
Brett TV,
yeah,
who is, well, his actual name is Brett Schumann, I think?
Schulman.
We call him Brett TV. But
yeah.
Regardless, he is going in surgery right now for prostate cancer. And he wanted me to, I asked him if I could kind of send him some well wishes on the air, and he said, please do. But he sent me a little message that he asked for me to make sure I read.
Okay.
So in honor of him, I want to read this real quick for our listeners and kind of put it out there. He said, of course, also remind men to get a physical once per year to get checked out. He said all men are at risk of having prostate cancer. About 1 man in 9 will be diagnosed with it during his lifetime, but only 1 in 39 will die of this disease. About 80% of men who reach age 80 have cancer cells in their prostate. So I told him I would read that, and he's really kind of just adamant about making sure every man out there who's listening to this, go get checked, go get a physical. Prostate health is a serious thing, and you can survive it if you catch it early enough. And so he's in surgery at the moment. Brett, we wish you well, brother.
Wish you the best, Brett.
I'll text you when I get out of here just to make sure you're doing well. So,
hey, Brett, wish you the best, man.
Yeah, man.
Good luck, bro.
So today's show.
And hi to everybody that's already on the Facebook Live, because obviously that's one way that people watch and interact with us while we're doing the show.
And actually, let's go ahead and put that out there.
Right.
So
what?
For those of us, for those who are interacting with us on a consistent basis, especially through the foundation, we all know that you can get a hold of us if you or anybody you know is struggling with the disease of addiction. You need help, you need assistance. You have a friend, a family member, they don't know who to call.
Yeah,
you're struggling and you want to reach out. You can reach out through 833 Now Matters. That's 833 Now Matters, and it is officially up and running with 0 problems. So if you did try to call this at some point and experienced an issue, we apologize. We have taken care of it. We have some issues with a specific phone carrier that we did not like. So
man, just call them out, man.
AT&T sucks.
Screw AT&T.
When it comes to 800 numbers, they're horrible. Anyway, so that's
now
up
my
and running.
cell phone's going to start acting out.
Exactly. So anyways, that's up and running. So 833 Now Matters. If you're struggling with addiction or if you know somebody that is and you need help, you can also go to our website at nowmattersmore.org, and you can see what we're about. You could donate there. You can find other ways to contribute. And then, as always, you can follow us on social media. That's at WPSN99. That's at Now Matters More. That's at the Dharma Guy and at the Dope Doctor.
That's right.
And if you want to watch this later on, you can watch it on YouTube at youtube.com/Dharma Time. So, anyways.
There'll be 2 new Dharma Times coming up this week because the Couch Live that we did on Friday, we're also editing as a Dharma Time. So that was with Pinklin Thomas. Yeah, we had Valentine's Day special. So far, just the Couch Live version is up. The next version will be up. Dharma Time version will be up within the next couple days, and then plus this one. So
well, we tried to do it on Tuesday, but we had some technical difficulties in our building. It wasn't us, but our whole entire internet went down on Tuesday.
Right.
So we actually got some work done. Believe it or not,
it was probably AT&T.
It's
probably AT&T. I don't doubt it.
But yeah, we had a really good show on Friday on the Couch Live, and we decided to double that up for Dharma Time as well.
Right.
We interviewed Pinklin Thomas. Always a great guest, man.
He brought me
awesome.
this.
Yes, I see that.
You have your Magic 8 Ball. So.
I do. I have my Magic 8 Ball.
Yeah.
My wife got me this.
Yeah.
For what was this for? I don't remember. It was a birthday. It was a birthday because it was one of the toys I asked for when I was a kid that my mother did not love me enough to get. Just going to put that out there. And I don't think my mom is watching today because she's up in Missouri with my sister. So I can get away with saying that today. Anyways, so react versus respond. Well, you got anything else before we get started? Before we jump right into this?
I want you to ask the Magic 8 Ball if that was true. That's the reason your mom didn't get it for you.
No, I'm not going to ask the
You may want to get it. You might get an answer you don't want.
Exactly.
All right.
No, it already backfired on me.
What's up, Brian? What's up, Drew?
It already backfired on me because I was at the house and one of the kids thought they were going to be smart and asked me something. So I asked the 8-ball and it was the exact answer I didn't want.
Oh,
so
really?
Like, damn it.
Right, forget that.
Yeah, exactly.
That. Don't be asking.
It backfired on me.
I'm not asking it.
All right, so react versus respond.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to do this today just because I know we've discussed it before in various shows.
Yeah.
Like the mentality of it. But I was kind of shocked when I looked at our show history that we never did a show specifically on it.
No?
And so I figured, well, why not today? React versus respond.
I mean, we mention it all the time.
We do mention it. Because I think it's important, man, especially in today's age.
Yeah.
For some reason, it seems to be more prevalent, I think. Either that or we're more aware of it because we have social media and whatnot. But kind of everybody I know has some sort of relationship to this concept of react versus respond.
Right.
And I think that I was guilty of it. It's probably one of the hardest things that I've had to work on myself was react versus respond. I was very much a reactionary individual. Something would happen and I would just react.
What if I react and respond?
Well, that could be your response, right?
Like the response later is, I'm sorry for reacting.
Exactly. So, anyways, that's what we'll talk about today.
All right.
And I think that, I guess if we have to define them, I would say reaction is more of an emotional outburst, I guess. It's more of your immediate emotional, whatever emotion you're feeling at that time, it just kind of comes out.
That's my lizard brain, Trinity.
Yes.
My lizard brain takes over. Well, yes. I mean, right? I mean, that's my lizard brain
100%.
Takes over. And, some lizards only have half a tail.
Yeah.
Do you know why the lizards have half a tail?
Because they did something they shouldn't have done.
No, because their instinct is to stay there and think that Louie's not going to pull the tail.
There you go.
And then the other lizards have the whole tail. Do you know why they have a whole tail?
Because they ran.
Because they figured it out already.
But that was the lizard brain that ran.
So, some of these people out here listening are runners, and some of them are stay still and get took.
Well, I love the fact, actually, that you brought in some neuroscience into this because it is legit. It is the lizard brain. Like when you see your children who are just fighting with one another, that is the lizard brain. That's that fight or flight. It's the oldest part of our brain. That's the part of our brain that kind of develops first, essentially, and it keeps us alive. It's great at survival. It is not the one that's about was it the prefrontal cortex? It's not the one that tells us
thinking, reasoning, learning, and listening.
Exactly.
Right.
Those come later on. However, the lizard brain is always active, and it loves attention. Like it really wants to be used.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just instinctual.
Yeah.
And you can't break it. I don't care who you think you are. You have to do a lot of practice. I mean, that's why the military trains the way they do, and law enforcement trains the way they do, and firefighters train the way they do to break whatever bad instinct or whatever ineffective instinct that individual has to build a better instinct. Like martial arts as well.
I think the moral of what we're trying to say here is it's not. You're not a horrible person because you react. It's instinctually in you.
Yeah.
And as I've said before, sometimes the things that make us great at survival don't necessarily coincide with happiness.
Right. I tell my wife that, don't blame me, blame God.
There you go.
Jesus.
So happiness and survival don't always coincide well with one another.
Can I say God on Dharma Time show?
You can say whatever you want, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
But so essentially, no, it's not your fault. You're not like a horrible person.
Right.
It's not. You're not. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just you're succumbing to that lizard brain that's telling you to instinctually respond to this or react to this.
Right.
But I think it's important to understand that it is just a reaction. That is your emotion. Some sort of emotion hit you. It's one of anger, fear, things of that nature. Yes, sometimes it can be joy and happiness. Right. But I don't think there's too many people out there who are negatively impacted by a reaction of happiness and joy. So I think we're going to spend the majority of our time today talking about those moments where you're overcome with a fear, anger, resentment, whatever it is, and you lash out at the other person. I think that's where we're going to spend the majority of our time on today.
Right. Well, that's why, like, if you practice conflict a lot and continuously get involved in conflict rather than trying to resolve the situation, you find yourself in more conflicts.
Yes. If your only tool to solve problems is a hammer, then everywhere you look, you're going to see nails.
Let me tell you something, man. I've used a stapler as a hammer before.
Yes.
Broke the stapler.
I'm sure. But, for me, as an aggressive individual and somebody who had a chip on their shoulder and was angry a lot, it was very hard for me because oftentimes I would react. That emotion inside of me would hit.
Right.
And I wasn't, I didn't do any internal reflection. Like I didn't, and that was the thing. I watched a program over the weekend. It was something on Netflix about Explained. And this particular one was Mind Explained, and they were talking about mindfulness. And one thing that I have kind of come to the realization over the years is a lot of people really aren't self-aware. And I was one of those individuals. I thought that I was, but I really wasn't. I took the surface of whatever it was and just thought that was it. I didn't really look at like my motivation behind certain things. Yeah. Right? Like somebody says something to you and you get mad at them, you think, well, I was just mad.
Like you should have known that.
Yeah. You're not really mad, right? Like you were fearful of something, fearful of losing what you have or not get what you wanted, and then that created anger that you lashed out. But the real emotion there wasn't anger. The real emotion there was fear of something or whatever, or let down or unwanted, whatever it was. And I don't think a lot of people spend an awful lot of time looking inward to understand their true motivations of things.
No.
And I think that's where the reaction versus response kind of gets us in trouble.
Well, I don't think a lot of people spend a lot of time knowing that they're already upset anyway. Like I used to walk around thinking I have a short fuse. I mean, I really believe that. Right. I believed I have a short fuse, so that was like my go-to.
Right.
I didn't know that I was just internally angry, and my sense of normal was already angry. So it wasn't that I had a short fuse. I was just my cup was already full.
Right.
So all it took was a drop to overfill it.
Yeah.
So I was not self-aware of that because my anger felt like normal every day. Right. I feel good.
That's just who I was.
Yeah, it's just who I am.
I can relate to that for sure. And oftentimes, like I said, I would react to situations when somebody would say or do something. My immediate thing to do was just to react to what they told me. If whatever it was upset me, then I would be aggressive towards them and say or do whatever, not realizing what the underlying emotions were. And I think that we see that a lot.
You see Marissa's comment?
Yeah. What did she say? I didn't. I saw it pop up, but it was.
We should talk about how some people just snap right away. Like when someone who's currently using substances and maybe an addict, and they ask for money or something like that. I mean, there's an immediate reaction that goes with that.
Yeah. That is. I mean, but that we could come up with a million different examples.
There's so many examples, right?
Yeah, of reaction.
Marissa, thank you for that, by the way. But there's a million examples.
But the principle remains the same,
right?
And that is unaware of our current emotional state or what's causing it,
or that we're now less tolerant to that specific situation.
Yes.
So like if it's a homeless person that asks for money, and it's the 500th homeless person that asks for money, and you have a certain image of what they do with that money, then you may react to that homeless person instead of just responding to that.
Well, like a classic example is if you're driving down the road and someone cuts you off.
They're trying to kill me.
Yeah, well, you react by getting upset and angry and yelling at them or whatever, and you're thinking you're angry at that moment.
Yeah.
You're not angry. You were fearful. Yeah. They cut you off and it scared you.
Right.
You were fearful that they were going to hit you or you're going to wreck or whatever.
Yeah.
And then your response to that fear was anger. But anger wasn't the true emotion. It was fear. What prompted that.
They didn't know that I was okay with my bumper hitting their car.
Yeah. So I think that I see that a lot, man.
Right.
In personal relationships, and just kind of in today's climate with the political stuff the way it is.
Right.
Like for instance, and I'm gonna touch on this very briefly because I don't want this to be a political thing, but I was a little taken aback. I'm not the biggest NASCAR guy, but I know that NASCAR just happened.
Yeah. NASCAR just happened.
Well, the Daytona 500,
the Daytona
more
500,
specifically.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not a NASCAR guy.
We've only had a car in NASCAR for the Now Matters More Foundation and for WPSN99.com in the latest Heat 4 video game.
But I'm not going to pretend to be somebody I'm not.
Okay.
I still don't watch it. But I am aware, though, that there was a major accident that happened on Sunday, I believe it was.
Monday.
Was it Monday?
Yeah.
So
Sunday got rained out.
Okay, so whenever the race took place, which I'm hearing is Monday, there was a major accident. The guy hit the wall. And I know at this track other people have died, like Dale Earnhardt and whatnot. So it was a scary moment for a lot of people. Turns out he's in the ICU, and I think he's going to have a full recovery. He's going to be fine.
Right,
but it was a scary moment for a lot of people.
Right.
But I saw other individuals, and the way I found out about it actually was on my Facebook feed, I saw a mix of people saying, "Hey, thinking of you, praying for you, whatever." But then I saw some other people who their initial reaction was one of saying, he deserves it essentially because of karma, because he was a pro-Trump driver or something like that.
Who's on your feed?
I got a mix of both, brother.
Well, you got some real assholes on your feed.
Well, maybe that's a reactionary comment.
Maybe anybody who says that a car accident, look, and I'm not a big Ryan Newman fan, but anybody who says that a car accident is your karma for liking another individual.
Yes, I would say that is an asshole.
That's an asshole thing to say.
Yes, that is an asshole thing to say.
So I got a feeling that
maybe
I'm reactionary. Maybe I'm being reactionary, Trinity.
Yes.
However, here's what I believe. That I'm going to think about it, and I'm sure my response is still going to be, what an asshole you are for posting that.
No, it's absolutely an asshole thing to say. However,
Jesus Christ.
I'm hesitant
that Trump derangement syndrome.
Yes. I'm hesitant
really
to call that person
an
an asshole because I'm sure that throughout the rest of their life, once again, I'm not going to judge them on their worst moments.
Right.
But that's an example, I think, of that. I think it's probably a normal, rational person who allowed that situation to garner a reaction from them to where they didn't think it through. They just said the first thing came to their mind, which is kind of a dick thing to say, for sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a comment on something you said.
Go ahead.
Did you wait? If you call someone an asshole for the moment, that's not a judgment on their entire person.
Saying someone is, you know this better than anybody.
What?
Someone is an asshole.
Yeah, you're an asshole.
That behavior is an asshole.
No. You're an asshole right now in this point in time in the world.
Now we're going to get into semantics.
Life. Yeah, because you brought up semantics. I didn't bring up semantics. You said
that
it was a judgment on the person is an asshole.
Yeah, but you didn't put the disclaimer of saying
tomorrow they may
be
tomorrow they may be a great guy.
Yes, dear.
Or a great girl. I don't know if it was
dear.
A female or male. But right now that person's an asshole.
Yes, dear.
Right?
Sure.
Thank you.
I would say that statement is an asshole thing to say. Regardless, my point is,
whatever.
That's an example of reaction versus response.
And if that person's watching it, what were you thinking?
I doubt they were watching my program. But regardless,
well, you said they're on your news feed.
Yeah, I got
so
a lot
they're
of
on your social media feed.
My point is basically just that's an example to me as a reaction, not a response.
Yeah.
Because I think if you were to talk to that person and pull them to the side and have a legit discussion, I don't think they legitimately really feel that person should have harm to them. I think they thought it was a thing to say at the moment.
They thought they were being funny.
Yeah. Who knows what they were going through their minds.
Yeah.
But I just know we're all guilty of it in certain areas of life. Maybe not to that extent, but we're all guilty of having something take place in front of us, having it not meet our expectations of what we thought should have been said or done, then personalizing it to the point of, okay, well, I'm feeling a certain kind of way, and now I want you to know I'm hurt, or I want you to know I'm whatever, and I'm going to do that by lashing out. And that's an reaction. Because we're at that point, you're no longer trying to get a point across. You're no longer trying to correct the behavior. You're no longer trying to express your disappointment. You're literally just trying to say tit for tat. I'm going to hurt you. You hurt me, kind of a thing.
Right.
I think that's where reactionary stuff kind of goes. That's the problem with reactions.
Right.
And like I said, I'm guilty of it, dude. Like, been there, done that. I've had plenty of moments in my life, especially in those close to me who I've had the strongest relationships with, where they have more of an ability to say or do something that hurts. There's been plenty of times where I've been hurt, and because of that hurt, I've lashed out and said something that was probably an overreaction on my part or overbearing. And afterwards, I've had to come with my tail between my legs and apologize or whatever. If they meant enough to me. There's been other people in my life where I was like, I don't care, get over it.
That apology thing.
Sure. But the point being, there's the what I've learned, and here's an example, right? There's a story, and I'm sure I've said it on previous shows, but it's just a good illustrative story. I was always, this is really old. You remember Billy Jack?
Billy Jack, the character?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Billy Jack would be the character, and for those of you who don't know, for the younger crowd, it was like an old kind of like, I want to say spaghetti western, I guess, but kind of, I don't know, he was like almost like Chuck Norris before Chuck Norris, I guess.
How dare you even say that?
Yeah. Anyways, he was the one, there was a famous scene he would always do where he's in front of somebody. He's like, I'm going to take my right foot and put it up against your left cheek. Yeah. And then he would do it. It was like, I'm just going to do whatever I want, and handle things. And so that's kind of the individual.
The shaft thing to do?
Yeah.
Have you seen the newer Shaft, the third Shaft?
The one with Samuel L. Jackson?
Well, yeah.
It's on my queue to watch. I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I mean, but it's it's the one that now there's a grandson. So like the grandson Shaft one.
Okay.
But in there he talks something about what you just said.
Well, so my whole thing was I've always been that guy who's very aggressive and very open.
Not always.
To confrontation.
Not always.
What do you mean?
Well, there's a lot of people that don't know you that way. So always would insinuate still.
That's what I said was always. Not anymore.
Semantics.
But I was that guy, and so there was a situation where I used to work with a buddy of mine, Terrence, and the supervisors would come into our little space and they would tell us, "Hey, you're gonna do this," and even though the way it was is it never lasted long. It was always going to be like a week or two before they realized it didn't work, and they would come in and tell us to go back to what we were previously doing and whatever. And so we all kind of knew that was the cycle that we were in. But me being me, when they would come in and tell us that, I always had the need to tell them what I thought about them. I had the need to tell them, that was stupid, you guys are retarded, you don't know what you're doing, we're just going to go back to doing this in another week or so. Why even wish? Like, I had the need to have this big confrontation with them.
Right.
And then my buddy, on the other hand, they would always come in, they would say that, and he would just be like, okay. Now...
So he felt the same way, but just said okay.
Correct.
Yeah.
Now, neither one of us ever did it.
Right.
Like when they told us to do that, we just knew it was going to come to a halt in like a week anyways.
Right.
So neither one of us did it.
Great employees, by the way.
Neither one of us followed. We were union. Neither one of us did it. Neither one of us followed through with it. We both thought it was ridiculous.
Okay.
But the thing I could never understand was how he could just be so cool and just be like, okay. Like he would just respond. Was just like, yeah, sure. And he would just never do it. He would go back to doing what he was doing. To where me, on the other hand, I would get hyped up. I would start like getting in their face. And the supervisor would walk out the door or walk out of our space thinking how great he was and how much of a prick I was.
Right.
And the only difference was I said it verbally and he didn't. And it took me years of being friends with him and watching him do this.
Yeah. I
could not understand. Like, dude, how can you not just tell him or whatever? How can you not react? Mm-hmm. And his whole thing was like, who cares, man? Like, I'm not going to do it anyways. It just doesn't matter. Like, why even start the trouble, whatever? And so, it to me, that's a classic example.
Right.
And so, where I'm at now in my life and where I've worked really hard to get to, and as you pointed out, where you can overcome the lizard brain. You can never get rid of it, but you can learn to not listen to it. And so...
Well, you can retrain it.
Well, my instinct still tells me to flip out and say something, but
no, you can literally train it, but it takes a lot of training.
Yeah, well, I guess I'm not there yet because my initial
you gotta practice.
Is still crazy. I just choose to say no, that's not going to be beneficial, so I'm going to go this route.
Right.
And so to me, that's kind of where I'm at now. Like, I if a situation occurs in front of me, I no longer think about my reaction to it. I instead kind of slow things down. Like I take a second.
So that is the reaction.
Yeah.
That's your reaction is pause.
Yeah, my reaction is like, hold on, let me assess the situation.
Right.
And the first thing I do is I try to do my best to figure out, all right, why is that my reaction?
Right.
Like why is my initial reaction to get mad or get upset or to lash out or to be aggressive or whatever it is? What is it that's contradictory to my happiness at the moment? Am I afraid of something? Am I feeling offended? Why am I, like I try to understand it, basically.
Well, I mean, how many times was it insecurity? I mean, insecurity of relationship, being insecure in a relationship, being insecure of how they view you, being insecure of how smart you are, being insecure of if you're worthy of the opportunity. Insecurity is one of the major contributors to reactions.
Yeah.
Because you're always assessing incorrectly what the other person is really saying.
Yeah.
Or really doing. For instance, I had the same thing that you just said, but it was my brother that had the tact. And he would always say, Louis, you have no tact. He said and did the same thing, and yet I'm the one that went, rah! And then I'd get busted for it, and he would like do it his way, very manipulative and clever.
Yeah.
And he would get away with it, and he was just like, I got tact. So I had to learn tact.
Yeah, well, same here.
Yeah.
And I'm still learning.
Which is why he's an attorney today.
Yeah.
And then, I'm healing folks. Through
yeah.
counseling because it took me to bump my head.
Yeah, I'm still learning it. So like, I'm better in some times than others, but I still fail at times.
The attack thing.
To me, it's a skill.
It's a lot of skill.
Yeah, and some days I'm more skillful than others. But I notice in the days that I'm most skillful, the three things I typically do is, once again, I kind of like pause for a moment.
Right.
I try to assess my internal dialogue, right? Like that mindfulness, that present time awareness. Like what's actually taking place.
Right,
like
right.
I have deemed this as negative for
Right.
whatever reason. Why?
Yeah.
What is it about this that I deem negative? What am I truly feeling here? And oftentimes, like you said, it's an insecurity in that situation, or it's a misinterpretation, or it's an expectation that wasn't met. You know, I think that actually, to be honest with you, is a lot of the time is we have some sort of an expectation that the person didn't meet. And then we think that is grounds for, annihilating them.
Do you remember how you practiced, though?
How I practice that?
Yeah, because I mean, it's kind of easy to talk about this when you're no longer really like full blown doing it all the time.
Right.
But like, how did you practice it? Like, how did you get there? Because I know how I practiced it.
Right.
I remember specifically how I practiced it, and it was I allowed myself to think of slapping the shit out of you in my head without doing it.
Sure.
And I used to laugh.
Right.
I'd be sitting there in front of somebody, and I'd be just thinking about hitting them over the head with a hammer or something like that, and be like, like laughing. And by imagining it, because I have a great imagination, I kind of felt better and didn't have to really do it. So it's interesting the way I practiced doing it but not doing it, using my imagination rather than my actual physical body.
I don't know if I have. That's a good question. I don't know if I have the same story per se or the same approach.
No. I had to practice it because I can't get anywhere without practice.
I'm trying to think, man.
I'm not Allen Iverson. I had
don't
practice.
I don't think I practiced. I think I just did, to be honest with you. And I either did successfully or I did unsuccessfully, but I think I just did. For like, you're talking to somebody who decided one day I was going to try vegan out, and then the next day I was vegan for a year and a half. So it's not like I didn't like fail, like because for me, you got to remember too, when I started kind of wanting to approach spirituality, dude, I hate the idea of rock bottom, but I was like, things were just not good for me.
Right.
And so it was one of those situations where it's like, look, dude, if you really are tired of this, then you got to make some effort. And so for me, I just made the effort. It was hard, but I just remember every time something came to me, what I did, I guess, if you want to call this practice, but my methodology, if you will, was when a situation would occur in front of me that I didn't like or wasn't going the way I thought it should go, my initial response to lash out was immediately preceded by, hey, what's the skillful way of handling this? Like, what's the way to handle this that's going to bring me the opposite of what I've been getting? And that's how I did it.
Wait, you're saying that sentence actually came into your head right from the beginning?
Yeah.
I can imagine if one of you jerk-offs would get in front of my car and almost run me off the road, and I think, well, what's the skillful way of handling this?
Dude, when you were as angry and as miserable as I was.
Wait a minute, bro. I was as angry and miserable as you were. We're just different. I'm not measuring anger. I'm just saying I can't imagine ever in my life in a reactionary moment, especially at the beginning, that my reaction is to ponder
desperation.
What is the skill? I was desperate, brother.
Apparently
I was facing 20 years of prison for a violent act. I was definitely
not enough.
Okay.
Hey, man, desperate times call for desperate measures. I reached my limit.
I definitely don't remember ever going, what's the skill? I don't even think I'd do that now, and I'm very skillful now.
We're on different paths.
But I don't even think right now if something happened and my wife would have to remind me when the last time I was unskillful, which is probably somewhere she's going to mention, but she can go back 20 years in her memory, but she'll say, I don't think I sat there and went, I wonder what's the skillful way of handling this, unless I'm in the jacuzzi and it's afterwards.
You're playing it up a little bit. I didn't sit there with and light a candle or something
with a pipe.
No, it was within second. Like it was like that. I want to punch you in your fucking mouth right now.
Ooh, you took
but
it there.
Instead I'm going to figure out, because I know what that gives me. You know what I mean? Like I had many a years and many like my.
But that's frontal lobe work. That's thinking and reasoning. You actually thought it through.
Yeah, because I had to change, man. I was in such a bad spot to where like I said to myself, there's got to be a better way. And so when I found a better way, logically I knew I couldn't keep doing it the bad way. Like I had to find a more skillful way. And so for me, the potential results meant more to me than the annihilation of the person in front of me. And so I had to make that decision. Once I made that decision, committed to it, that was it. Like, I can't half-ass it and expect full results. Like, if I want to change, if I want to get these different experiences, then I got to suck it up and do it. It's not fun. It's not comfortable, but I know what this gets me. I've already done it. So it's time to do something different. So and it started when I was working at the Postal Service. Like, I would read the books and I would understand certain things, this quote-unquote skillful way of handling it. Right. And then I would go to work the next day, and inevitably there'd be a situation that comes up.
I see every day.
Where, because it was like a war zone for me at that place. And anybody who's watching this who knows me knows it was literally like a war zone when I went in there.
Do you ever go into the post office nowadays?
No, I hate that place.
You hate the place.
Yeah, I won't even
Still
drive
to this day.
Yeah.
Do you yell at the postman when he comes, or you don't blame the postman?
No.
But you blame the system.
But I won't even drive past where I used to work. Like, I'll pick a different route. I hated that place, man. But regardless, but yeah, so I would go into a situation, and a supervisor or whomever would kind of come and start putting the thumb down a little bit. And my initial response was like, all right, let's do it. Let's have this out. But then I stopped in the middle of it and was like, wait a minute. I know where that goes. So first, let me try it this way.
Yeah.
And so I would do it the skillful way. I would still walk away thinking to myself, that person's an idiot and not like to put their head through a wall.
Right.
But nothing happened. You know what I mean? Like, I started to do it, and I started to walk away thinking, I'm good.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't walk away all hyped up and ready, I'm good. And so I continued to do that, and I started realizing, like, man, this is kind of cool. Like,
right.
I started getting a taste of inner peace.
Yeah.
And that inner peace was enough to continue to motivate me because, and you know this better than anybody. When you truly experience inner peace, dude, there's nothing that comes close to what that feels like.
Right.
True inner peace. True inner peace where you're like, I'm good. Yeah, I don't like this circumstance, and it's not the way I would think it would go.
Right.
But I'm good. That feeling is enough to keep me going.
That's a beautiful feeling.
Oh, it's the best I've ever had in my life.
See, I got to admit, mathematics helped me a lot. I'm a statistical kind of person. I love stats. I love statistics. And when I started realizing how many things that I did that were just totally off the chain without having to pay the price for it, it kind of started making me very fearful that I was getting to an age that it didn't matter who you were, what the story was. These responses were serious, and I'm not even going to go into details, but I'm talking, the traffic thing. If I yell at you if I yelled at you in traffic, that was a good thing because that means I'm venting.
Right.
I was venting, so I like to talk to myself through
it,
right? My problem was when I wouldn't vent it and I wanted my vehicle to do the speaking.
Yeah, that's usually a problem.
Those were the times it was bad. And those of you that were with me when that happened, I mean, there's people out there probably watching right now that were with me when I ran into vehicles, when I pushed vehicles with my car. At one time I had a big 4x4 truck. Or I threw things out of my vehicle. Some of you probably remember me throwing things out of my vehicle, hitting them with something, maybe even a firearm. I'm not sure. I don't have the memory. You'd have to hypnotize me for that. But what I'm saying is,
Jesus, you're a very rude man.
No, what I'm saying is, I had no desire initially to curve the instinct, because the instinct was wrapped in what I wanted to be.
Yeah, well, that was my problem too.
Whereas as I got older and I realized it's not working, and plus that's going to quickly end up not, statistically I'm going to get busted pretty bad. So that math part just made me take a pause. But the practice really, really, really was just consistently just trying to understand what the word tact meant.
Right.
Like, I didn't even know what that... Did you know what that word meant?
I did from an early age.
Like patience? Did you understand those words?
I didn't have it. Like, I remember my mom telling me in middle school, like, yelling at me because I don't have any tact. And that's so I had to learn what the definition was early
it's a
on.
hard word. Tact, patience, tolerance.
Yeah.
Those are words that were not taught to me as a kid. They were yelled at me.
Well, I think they tried to teach it to me, but I just wasn't in a frame of mind to listen and learn either, though. Like, I see, when you were talking about statistics and inevitably going to get caught or whatever,
right?
Like, I actually had to get caught.
Right.
Because my arrogance made me feel that I was above the statistics. Right. I was the outlier.
Right.
And so, well, you're going to get caught. No, you'll get caught.
Yeah.
I'm fine,
Right.
It wasn't until I actually got caught and and kind of got lucky that the person decided not to do, press charges or whatever.
Right.
That was my wake-up call of saying, maybe I'm not as great as I thought. Maybe I'm not the outlier.
Right.
I did get caught. Because for me, I was arrogant enough to believe that I was the outlier.
Well,
I was good enough to do it.
Everybody's going to eventually get caught. I mean,
well, I know that now. But at the time, I didn't think that.
Yeah, but when we're talking about a response to something, I think it's important to let people know that if they vent it and it's not hurting somebody. In other words, if you're venting alone, that's perfectly healthy. Nobody's telling that you got to be some sort of
we're
monk.
not talking about that.
You're not a Buddhist monk sitting somewhere going, "Oh, bless you for almost killing me on the road," or
no, we're not talking about that.
Like Marissa's thing about someone asking you for money or something like that. But it's a lot of practice of just knowing that's their deal, not my deal. And especially on the road, I just had to learn, like, get over on my quick reaction now is get over in the slow lane and just start going real slow, and just until I'm peaceful with that, then don't speed back up again.
Well, to me, it's also a process, right? Like, when I first started my spiritual journey, the idea of love and compassion and kindness were just bullshit to me. Right. Those ideas were like, what?
Those are weakness to me.
Yeah.
Those were weakness.
I had no desire. To me, the whole turn the other cheek just gets you hit harder. You know what I mean? Right. And so for me, I didn't start out with those in mind.
Right.
I started out my practice of just, look, this is the more intelligent way to go about doing things. I'm going to do it because I'm just not trying to deal with the aftermath. And then over years and years and years of practicing that I started to reap the benefits and started having more of a loving, compassionate, kind response to people just, intuitively. But it took years to get to that point.
But didn't you suffer physical abuse as a child?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. So I think that's why we were built a certain way.
Maybe.
I think our responses get put away because your reaction becomes what it is. So, like, there's a lot of people that get physically abused that turtle up and become very depressed.
Yeah.
Well, you and I both, it became outward. So there's those that take the anger inward and they become very depressed and suicidal. Well, that was the last thing I'm going to do. I'm going to take you out.
No,
I'm homicidal, not suicidal.
Yes.
So neither one is healthy.
No.
But both stem from abuse, and that's that energy that you and I had always talked about. Somebody's kicking a dog somewhere, and that started somewhere ridiculous in a 7-Eleven somewhere.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? You should have said thank you to that person.
So, but to use your driving experience, right? Example, I think for somebody who does, like, get out of the car, for instance, and do actual things that they just not skillful.
Right.
For that person to think that tomorrow they're going to have no reaction is just, it's not going to happen.
Right.
You're setting yourself up for failure. That for that person, I think the first step for them is to not get out of the car, but instead scream and yell in their own car.
Yeah.
That's the first step. And I think if you do that long enough, then the idea of getting out of the car is just no longer relevant.
Yeah. Don't drive with volatile music.
And then the next step would be, you know what I mean? And the end goal is to eventually get to the point where you're unaffected by it. Now, that might not ever happen, but that's the goal. That's where you're going towards. Right. And then when you have that as your end goal, then the things that you need to do to get to that goal just make sense.
Right.
Like I said, for me, I didn't start out wanting love and compassion and stuff towards people. I was one of those people that would get irritated when somebody cut me off or doing whatever. Mm-hmm. I would do the whole somebody brake checking me or something, or I would cut them off a little bit, or just very aggressive things. Right. To whereas now I'm more likely to be like, whatever. Like, I don't even pay attention. I have people honk at me sometimes.
Right.
And I used to take that like, what would you just, like it was a fight kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Now somebody honks, I'm just like, whatever. Like, I don't even stop my train of thought to even address the honking anymore. Like, if it's something ridiculous. But I didn't start out that way.
Right.
It was a process, but the process started with my desire to not react anymore. Right. Because I realized my reactions were causing more problems than they were solving. Yeah. I realized that my reaction was volatile. My reaction was contradictory to inner peace. And I think that's where people have to start.
Right.
They have to start with this realization that reactions just really typically aren't helpful. Really, the only time that they're universally helpful would be in a survival situation. Your reaction to survive most likely will be helpful.
Right.
But your reaction to be happy and have a productive, relationship with people or skillfulness, your reaction is almost always going to not be helpful. You're going to have to respond. You're going to have to take a moment and respond in a more loving, compassionate way, both for yourself and the person you're talking to.
Right.
And like I said, it's hard, man. Especially if you've got a long history of not doing that. But you got to ask yourself, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? If you want to be right, well, then keep going. Be right.
Yeah.
And there's another one that you're going to have to fight every 2 minutes.
Yeah.
But if you're looking to be happy, then you have to stop trying to be right. And so for me, that's what it comes down to For me, when it comes to response, first react.
Or just know you're right, and then just don't worry about fighting.
That's fine too.
Because that works
Whatever
too.
It takes, dude.
Yeah, that works too. Just if you think you're right, just own
right.
it. I'm right, so you don't have to
stop
try
arguing.
to teach me or prove it to me.
Yeah,
I'm irrelevant to you then.
So
who cares what I think?
Yeah, I mean, so for the react and response type situation, once again, if you want to stop doing that, then the first thing you do is you take a second. There's a thing floating around there that I've seen is like never never respond when you're angry. I can't remember what it is, but it's like this little thing that floats around.
My texts and emails when I'm angry always have to get deleted.
Yeah,
they always have to get deleted.
And there's nothing wrong with that, right? If you want to type it out, just
I write it out, but delete it.
Don't send.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is if you're going to react to something, stop for a second.
Right.
Like just whoever's listening to this right now, whether you're skillful at this already or not, do yourself a favor. Just learn how to take a couple seconds.
Yeah. Before
Before you respond or react to whatever somebody says or does, before you offer up your take on what just went down, take a second. Just take a second. Like count to 10 in your head. You know what I mean? Just take a second and wrap your head around what just took place and be honest with yourself. And that's the biggest one right there, is be honest with yourself.
That therapeutic thing actually does work.
It does.
That you need that little time.
Just pump the brakes just for a second. Just hold on. Let your brain wrap around what just took place first.
Yeah.
And then say to yourself, all right, how am I feeling and why? That to me is one of the biggest things that we got to be honest with yourselves is really what hurt you. Is it because they're stupid? No, they're not. Why are they stupid? Because they didn't do what you thought they should do. Yeah. And why does that matter? Why does that matter to you? Well, because it hurt your feelings.
Right.
Oh, now we're getting somewhere. Now we're getting to the crux of the problem here. Yeah. Your feelings were hurt. Why were your feelings hurt? Because you know what I mean? Like, and what hurt your feelings? Is it, do you feel like they're showing you that you're not good enough, or they don't care about you? You know what I mean? Like,
that you're an idiot.
Yeah, get to the crux of the situation there, and then when you come up with your response, whatever it may be, keep that goal in mind.
Right. But you can't say no F's given. I mean,
everybody cares.
We have a generation of of people that are that's a mantra now. These no F's given. No. That's say that when you're about to take a risk and have fun with it. Like if you're about to do a trick on a bike or something like that, or something that's risky. But don't say that when you're dealing with a relationship. Or someone that's...
Or a loved one.
Yeah, a loved one. You can't say no F's given, man. You got to love that.
Yeah, of course, man. Of course. And not only that, but you're lying.
Yeah.
You're lying because you do care. Because if you didn't care, they wouldn't be in your life.
Have a judge tell you where you're going to sleep for the next 6 months to 6 years and see how you feel.
Yeah.
You'll have F's then.
Yeah. So, so the next step, obviously, once you've established what that is now you got to decide, like, I use an unrelated example to prove the point, I guess.
All right, prove it.
You and I are very similar in the sense of, like, when it comes to our kids, we try to look for teachable moments, right? Like, I'm a firm...
They provide so many.
Oh my God, don't get me started. I'm a firm believer that punishment should be corrective in nature, not punitive in nature. Right. Like, I don't think I should just punish for the sake of punishing. I'm going to punish because I'm trying to correct the behavior. So I try not to go too overboard or whatever it may be. And so the same concept when you're going to respond to somebody, what is the main goal that you really truly want? Not that I want to hurt this person, because that's what your reaction is going to be. I'm hurting, so you're going to hurt now. No, what is it you really want? Well, I want them to understand that they hurt me, and I want them not to do it again.
Right.
So the best way to do that is to help you understand my train of thought when that took place.
Yeah.
And to be honest, there's another phrase out there. It's hard to be angry at somebody whose story you know, right? Well, it's the same concept. If I hurt your feelings and you just lash out at me, it's very easy for me to be pissed off at you, be like, damn, what's wrong with him today? It's a lot harder for me to be angry if you're like, yo, man, that kind of really hurt my feelings because this, and this. It's hard for me then to be angry. It's more likely to be like, oh, man, I'm sorry. Like, I didn't realize. My bad. Like, you almost stop a problem in its tracks by doing this. Whereas if you react, then most likely that other person is going to react as well because their intent, you're punishing them for the action, not for their intent. Right. And then they're going to immediately think of what their intent was and be like, this person's lost their mind. Like, I didn't mean to do that. and now it's just going back and forth. Now you got a full-fledged argument or a full-fledged fight that didn't need to happen. Because all it really was a lack of communication between the two of you. Like what they intended and what you heard, or what they said and what you heard is two different things.
I'm not listening to them. I'm on pause waiting to speak, man.
Yeah. No, but you actually said that to me one time. It was years ago now. I can't remember what the exact situation was. And I knew the concept, but you said it in a way that it just kind of hit me differently than when I've read or said myself. Mm-hmm. And it was basically, I can't remember what it was, but I said something. You're like, yeah, that's what you said, but that's not what they heard. Mm-hmm. And I immediately was like, holy shit, you're totally 100% right. Because and that's what a lot of people don't understand is like what you say oftentimes and what the other person hears or what they interpreted, vastly different. And so if you're going to react to what that misinterpretation was, all it's going to do is start a domino effect.
I remember who taught me that whole thing. It was Dr. Pete Butkins before I even owned Quest Counseling Center. And every time I would say good morning, he would say, don't tell me what to do. From that point forward, I was like 23 years old.
That's awesome.
And I learned that lesson from early on. It says it doesn't matter what you tell somebody, whatever mood they're in, they're going to take whatever you said and make it whatever fits in their headspace at the moment.
Well, the best, and everybody can relate to this who's listening right now.
No.
The biggest way to illustrate that point, texting.
Oh my God!
How many times?
So many.
Like, you text somebody something, or you receive a text. Whenever that other person reads it, they're reading it with their own interpretation in mind. They're reading it with whatever frame of mind they're currently in. So if they're upset, and you send them hey, I'm gonna, or hey, why didn't you text me back the other day? If they're upset, they're not going to hear, hey, is everything okay? Why did you text me back? No, they're going to hear, you're an asshole and you didn't text me back on time. What's wrong with you?
Right.
So they're going to read that with a tone, and their response is going to be, well, forget you. I was busy. I got better things to do than text you back or whatever.
Well, you do that transference thing. You do.
Yeah.
Look, if I don't respond to you, and there's a lot of those out there that are probably mad at me for not responding to their text right away.
Took me a year to get a hold of you, bro.
Yeah, but it's people thinking, all right, if this is what I do and I don't respond, so this must be what he's doing.
Yeah.
I don't know what I was doing, but I get bogged down. I get distracted. I'm ADD, but you know how many feelings I've hurt on text? Sure. I mean, there's so many people probably out there that are just saying, that's so slow. It's like, sure. I'm an idiot sometimes with that. Sure. I mean, but at least I admit it. Well, I try to get better with it.
That's why I try my best to avoid, and I hate relationship style text, like with my wife even. Like if her and I are having a disagreement. What's Marissa? Marissa says me the other day, but I'm not mad that I.
Wait, what did I do?
Apparently you didn't answer her back, I guess.
You wait a minute? Is this true?
I don't know.
Marissa, you texted me the other day.
See,
is this true?
You're in trouble now.
Dang it, man.
Well, why she responds?
Go on with your point. Yeah, I'm sorry.
But like with my wife, it happens to us a lot, or it used to happen more so now. Like early on in our relationship, we would have these text conversations, and there's oftentimes it felt anyways to me, the equivalent of somebody walking in the door and be like, hey, how you doing? And their response is, what do you mean I'm fat? Like, whoa, what? Like it felt like that at times, like it completely opposite of what was intended. She says yes. She texted
she did. Well, now I'm gonna have to go check my text messages.
Shame on you, man.
That's horrible. Shame. I'm sorry, Marissa. God, I gotta go check it. Another thing I got in trouble for? Thumbs up on people's texting. Yeah. Now listen. Yeah. I am guilty of texting and driving, which is not allowed.
Same here.
And
I don't do it as much.
And I do. I'm also guilty of doing a lot of texting during activities or whatever. Yeah. So sometimes it makes it quick. I thought the thumbs up is a good thing. Yeah, I agree or whatever. Yeah. No. I have someone, and you know who you are, getting on me about it, saying that was a diss.
Right.
And then so all these younger people were telling me, yep, that's what it was. You old people with your thumbs up. I'm like, you young people with your reading into my thumbs up.
Yeah.
Because everybody 35 years old and above, if you give them a thumbs up, they take it as a thumbs up.
Yeah.
But for some reason, younger people, when you give them a thumbs up, they take it like whatever, blowing you off. That's not true.
One of the situations that would happen a lot to me early on.
I'll let you know when I'm blowing you off.
Yeah. Well, a situation that happened to me early on in my relationship even. My wife would be on a computer or whatever, and she'll have a few minutes at her job or something, and she'll text me this long descriptive request or whatever it may be.
Not getting ready.
And I'm driving or I'm doing something or I'm in the middle of handling things or whatever it may be, and I would respond with a very short answer, like a one-word answer, two-word answer, right?
Yes.
And in my mind, I'm thinking, well, I'm kind of in the middle of something, but I don't want to be rude. Like, it's my wife, so I'm going to respond. I don't want to be rude and make her think that I'm ignoring her, so I'll respond just, okay, yeah, sure. And then come to find out when she comes home, she's like, "What's wrong with you? You have a bad day?" I'm like, "What do you mean?"
Yeah.
Well, I texted you earlier and you just gave me okay. I was like, I was in the middle of doing it. I just didn't want to.
I was driving, baby.
Yeah.
You trying to kill me?
Yeah. So it's like, to me, that's once again why it comes down to the react versus respond.
Right.
When you're going to react to a situation, you're going based upon your own interpretation, your own hurt feelings, your own list of expectations that weren't met, right? And towards when you respond, you're taking a moment to take all those things into consideration, and then you're gonna, when you do interact with them, keep that in mind. Like your response should have the goal of, I need you to understand where I'm coming from, and I need to understand where you're coming from, so we can get to the bottom of this.
Right.
Towards your reaction is basically, I'm hurt, and I'm gonna hurt you now.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to know I'm hurt. You're going to learn today. and that's, it's not beneficial. It just really isn't.
Right.
I agree. You think it's beneficial, but it's really not.
Because it feels good at the moment.
Yeah, until she hits you or until you're sleeping on the couch for the next couple of days.
Yeah, reactions feel real good in the short term.
Yeah, yeah. And then almost immediately after, depending on who the person is, you feel bad.
Right.
Because I've had moments, even with my kids, where I'm in the middle of doing something, whatever, and they'll be fighting with each other or something, and then I'll react, and almost immediately I'm like, oh gosh, and I have to get up and like, look, guys, and I have to kind of have a different conversation with them because I was in the middle of doing something or whatever it may be, and I reacted,
right? Not
realizing that maybe they haven't seen me for a day or whatever it is. They got a lot of stuff they want to tell me from school, so I got to slow down.
You know who I react to the most?
Ooh.
Kyle.
Who?
Kyle, my dog.
Oh.
He gets my full-blown reactions.
Okay.
Because if he does something that, like, really pisses me off,
right,
I immediately, like, give that command, or yank that chain real quick, man, when he does something in public. Because he likes to scare the crap out of people in public, man. These poor little kids that try to walk their dogs in my neighborhood. We're in a brand new neighborhood. Right. It's a nice, peaceful neighborhood. And my dog acts like he's a full-blown wolf or something, like he's going to attack them and kill them. And they get all scared and start walking real fast. And he's and I'm like, he gets my reaction. Poor Kyle.
That's funny.
There's no response. That's all pure my reaction. My neighbors probably think, "Ooh, that boy, he's gonna beat that dog when he goes inside."
Yeah, that's funny.
I'm not gonna beat Kyle.
Well, we only got a few minutes. We got 3.5 minutes left.
Right.
Anything you want to add to what we've been conversing about today?
Yeah. All right. So every action has an equal and opposite reaction, right? But that just keeps the game going the way it's been going.
Did you come up with that on your own?
Yeah, I'm Mr. Science now.
That's awesome.
But if you respond, you control it a lot better. And control is really what you want anyway, right? But don't start with controlling somebody else. Start with controlling yourself. So, yes, every action has an equal and opposite reaction, but a response is going to give you the ball, and it's going to allow you to play the game the way you want to play it instead of the way you feel the situation is making you play it. Anyway, that's what I had to say.
I agree. I like that. And control is kind of what we want. And at the end of the day, you can't control somebody else. No matter how much you think you can or how much you want to, you can never control that person's reactions, thoughts, whatever it may be. The only person that you can control is yourself, and that's where you got to start. So, as always, I try to leave with some actual, some action plans, right? Some actionable things. So today's tips are just that. I'm going to give you the blueprint. Here's the blueprint on how to get to what we're talking about, to where you spend more of your time responding and less of your time reacting to the situation. Mm-hmm. So the first tip is kind of what we said earlier, is take a moment. Don't, there's no race here. You know what I mean? There's not a clock that you have to get a response in within a certain amount of time. So be respectful to both yourself and whoever you're speaking to, and just give it the time that it deserves. If they said or did something, take a moment, take a step back, and say, okay, let me wrap my head around this. Let me respect myself. Let me respect the person. Let me respect the moment enough to give it my actual thought. Let me take a step back. The second tip is really truly look inward and be honest with yourself about why you're wanting to react that way. Is it because you're fearful of something? Is it because it tapped an insecurity of yours? Is it because, whatever expectation you had just wasn't met? Are you wanting to respond to that as opposed to what was actually said? And I think more often than not, you're going to realize it does come down to some sort of a fear or some sort of an anxiety or expectation that wasn't met. And remember, for my guys out there, I don't mean fear like you're a punk. I just mean typically we have a fear of not getting what you want or losing what you have, right? And so if they did or said something that they made you fearful that that's going to happen and you're reacting out of that, be aware of that. Really be honest with yourself and figure out what is it that really kind of touched me the wrong way right here. And then the third and final one is when you do formulate your response. When you finally do take that minute, you figured out what it was that was causing the problem, and now you're getting ready to open your mouth, and a response is about to come out. Make sure the end goal of your responses is to get them to understand and for you to understand them. Your response should not be, I'm going to hurt you right now. Your response is, I'm going to make you realize how dumb you were for that. Negative motivation is going to get you a negative response. So instead, make your response form around, look, here's my goal. My goal is for this not to happen anymore. This is how I'm going to choose to get it. I'm going to explain to you why that hurt me. Not just, oh, you made me mad. No. That hurt me, and this is why. And then give them the opportunity and try to understand what their intent was. More often than not, at the end of that process, you're going to realize there was a lack of understanding between the two of you. What they said and what you heard was probably different. What they intended for you to feel was different than what you actually felt. And at the end of it, you can walk away thinking, man, I'm so glad we had that, and it'll bring you closer together. To whereas if you react, it can potentially end into something massively horrible that neither one of you want. That right there is the fine line between react versus respond. So I think that's all we got today. Look forward to the edited stuff on YouTube. Make sure you share it. And then I think that's all we got, man. So now that you know better, do better. Peace. Are you still here? What are you doing? I told you, go do better.